It's time for Tuff Talk Show.
Welcome to Tuff Talk Show. I'm your host, Forrest Tuff, and today's episode is on fatherhood. Joining us from Fathers Incorporated are the CEO, Kenneth Braswell, and the Director of Fatherhood Engagement, Lamont Jones. Afterwards, we'll have a special interview with my dad, Apostle Ulysses Tuff, when we return right here on Tuff Talk Show.
Tuff Talk Show is brought to you by One Vision Productions.
Anytime they're playing music downstairs, it's loud. I go downstairs, see what they're doing, see what music they're doing, see what they're dancing to. I go play piano downstairs, they come get involved. Leah has a drum set beside it, banging that. Any music, that's what they do.
Tired of being isolated and feeling shut off from the world? Are you ready to reconnect and communicate with people? Then try Toastmasters. With more than 350,000 members in 143 countries, you can virtually connect to others around the world with a simple click of a button. Meeting new people has never been easier. So do you want to start enjoying your new normal? Try a Toastmasters free online meeting and let the conversation begin.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so follow guidance from authorities where you live and stay home unless absolutely necessary. Use a delivery service for essential items like food and medicine. If you must make essential trips, stay 6 feet apart from other people. Wear a cloth face covering and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
And now, back to Tuff Talk Show.
Welcome to Tuff Talk Show. I'm your host, Forrest Tuff, and today we're going to talk about fatherhood. I have some special guests with me today, and we're going to talk to the CEO of Fathers Incorporated, Mr. Kenneth Braswell, and the Director of Fatherhood Engagement, Lamont Jones. Lamont Jones and Kenneth Braswell, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yep, thank you for having us.
So let's get right to it. Mr. Braswell, tell us, how did you come up with Fathers Incorporated? What was that process, and what was the motivation to get this going?
Well, we just turned 16 years old.
Oh, congratulations.
And I started this not-for-profit like most people like me who get into not-for-profit work. It was a issue that was close to my situation in my life. At the time, I was going through a custody battle with the mother of my youngest daughter and had an epiphany, that fathers needed additional help, and began to start looking at the issues of child support, visitation, and custody, and quickly learned that those weren't the biggest issues. Those were just symptoms of other issues: unemployment, difficulty in obtaining the right education, parenting skills, employment skills, and began to start thinking about how could I help fathers across the nation by not just providing them direct services, but actually working with practitioners and organizations and government across the country to have a better understanding of the nuances that particularly fathers go through.
So, Mr. Jones, what was your journey to get here?
Well, I'm gonna give you the very, very truncated version. I have a great brother that when I had a idea of getting into this whole fatherhood, responsible fatherhood movement. And then he told me about Kenneth Braswell, Fathers Incorporated. And I went to one of his events in Brooklyn, New York. That was around 2013. Following year, I moved, my family and I, here to Georgia. And again, he had another initiative, which was Save Your Sons event. So I got involved with that. And then him and I, we were talking through social media, and we went to lunch. the lunch may have been 30 to 45 minutes, but this brother and I sat and talked for about 3 hours afterwards, just sharing our heart, sharing what we thought about, fathers and fatherhood. And we were dreaming. We were literally sitting there dreaming. And fast forward, I just started doing some contract work with him. And now I'm on board. And I can say that we recalibrated a lot of those dreams into now goals and ambitions and some. So here I am.
That's an awesome story. It's always great to see when we can connect and do something positive in our communities. I looked up both of you. You both have amazing backgrounds, and I know you're both respected in your community, and fathers, grandfathers, you really love your children. So we know that's been a great influence in your work. So working with Fathers Incorporated, tell me a little bit about the reach that you have over this 16-year period, locally, nationally, and globally. And what are some of the things that you're doing right now?
Man, the interesting thing for us is that, we've been fortunate to be a national organization. We've conducted workshops and trainings, across the country. Have even had the pleasure of being called outside of our country to talk about in the Bahamas, in Mongolia, Africa, Indonesia, really just going into other countries and talking about the importance of fatherhood. But in addition to our local work with Fathers Incorporated, we also serve as the prime contractor for the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And that's a contract we've now had for over 10 years. And we've been providing direct technical assistance to organizations around the country looking to deepen their work and to deepen their outcomes into communities, specifically through this fatherhood lens. And so now that we're here in Atlanta, we've now gotten back into the direct service space. I've kind of disconnected myself. I was like, I'm too old for direct service now. I've been there, done that. But, Atlanta keep calling me, and they kept calling us. And so finally, we decided to really kind of look at how can we serve fathers in the Atlanta area through our curriculums, but really kind of helping them with some of the things that they struggle with, getting to work, helping their children with their educational aspirations, starting businesses, learning how to communicate, with their significant others, and all of the other things that they deal with. And now we're really beginning to ramp up that direct service to get even deeper.
Okay. So Mr. Jones, how do you play into that aspect of what we just talked about there?
Well, again, I have to give you the truncated version for sake of time. Yeah. But, as the director of fatherhood and community engagement, I'm responsible to make sure that what our CEO has gets to the ground, and it's moving and it's maintained. So one of our initiatives, one of the initiatives that is now developing into a program is called Real Dads Read. So we started this little book project, and we had about 20 partners. Now we have 100 Metro Atlanta partners, including Columbus, Georgia, where we provide literacy centers inside of barbershops, doctors' offices, as well as little free libraries in front of schools. So maintaining those keeps me busy. And then we have our Gentle Warriors Academy, which is the arm of professional development and teaching and webinars, curricula, all over through our virtual platform, which is now beefed up with this pandemic going on. So we're still able to provide the boots on the ground. And then locally4 in DeKalb County, we have 14 of our Real Dads Read partners, 9 in barbershop partners, 4 schools. And we also have 1 early learning center where we're providing free books, culturally relevant, to just give a love for reading for our children and an opportunity for our dads to have that special moment of reading with their children.
So that leads me actually into a good segue. That leads me right into this point. Mr. Braswell, you're a documentarian and an author. And from what I hear, you've written 4 children's books, but there's one book in particular that seems to have a reach every time something important happens in our community. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, as an agency, we don't do anything if it's not connected to fatherhood and through a daddy lens. And so one of the things that I've always struggled with is books for our children that have fathers as a central theme to the story. And so 5 years ago, my son and I had this incident where he saw me in Baltimore doing the Freddie Gray indictments. And I was in the center where there were troopers and all kinds of things around. And he asked me why I was there. And when I got home, what I wanted to do was talk to him about why I was in Baltimore. But what I realized is that while I had an answer, I did not have a 6-year-old answer. And so I wrote this book called Daddy, There's a Noise Outside to really talk to him about this notion of protest and what protest is, not why I was there, but what was going on. So I talked to him about the March on Washington and Tiananmen Square, the Million Man March, and all of these other ways, sit-ins and letter writing and civil disobedience. And at 6 years old, he got it. He got it because it was a simple story. It was a simple narrative, and it was a way for him to process it without all the drama that we as adults bring to those conversations. And so every time something unfortunately happens around the country where there is a racial spike, the sales for that book, unfortunately and fortunately, go through the roof. And right now it is keeping me extremely busy moving these books out the door.
Well, that is definitely a great problem to have. And it's also great to have some culturally relevant material that we want it to be seen throughout the world, because this isn't just a local problem. This just isn't a issue that's in our community, but it's something that has to be outside of our community in order to get the help that we need. So I think it's great that you've taken the initiative to put this out. Mm-hmm. So this is what I want to say as we wrap this up. Fatherhood Incorporated, and we have the information here for our viewers who are going to be taking a look at this. We'll have all the information on how you can contact them. What do you see your efforts moving forward in the future?
That's a good question. I think that we are really looking to deepen our direct services throughout Metro Atlanta, where we really can provide locations for fathers to come in, and also not only fathers, but to expand where we're working with families. We believe that if you're a not-for-profit agency working with families, then you're not truly working with families if you're not also working with fathers. So where there are gaps in service delivery around Metro Atlanta, we want to be able to fill that for fathers and be able to equip them with the tools that they need to be the best fathers they can be in the lives of their children.
That's awesome. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Jones, before we get out of here today?
No, I just really want to say thank you for the opportunity, and we just want to actually listening audience to just visit our website, at Fathers Incorporated or blackdadscount.com to just get a little sniff of what we're doing, and any way that we could be of service, definitely reach out.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll definitely put the information out so our viewers can get in contact with you and be a part of this movement that is so necessary for children, because fathers matter. That might be a new slogan. We need that one. Fathers matter. Mr. Braswell and Lamont Jones, thank you so much for coming on Tuff Talk Show. When we come back, we're going to talk to a special man that's made a big impact in my life. That's my father.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy. Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
The census, a special time when we count every person in each home in every neighborhood.
Do kids count?
Of course. Counting everyone in your home helps support your neighborhood by funding things like schools, hospitals, and buses. Complete the census by calling or going online, or return your form by mail.
It's easy, secure, and most important, it's totally private.
Make your family count!
This year, make sure every child counts. Visit 2020census.gov.
Humanity is resilient. We've embraced our new normal and become virtually connected. However, social distancing will eventually come to an end. Will you be ready? Toastmasters has developed programs to aid in your professional development, whether it's a career in public speaking, entertainment, entrepreneurship, or for your next job interview. The world is getting better, and so should you. Why wait? Try a free Toastmasters online meeting and join today. Be prepared for your next opportunity.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother,
Yes.
you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse,
Yes.
you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Testing. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
And now, back to Tuff Talk Show.
Welcome back to Tuff Talk Show. I'm your host, Forrest Tuff, and today we're focusing on an important topic, which is fatherhood. And who is my next guest? Nobody better than my own father, the man that taught me how to be a man in this world and how to make things work. So I'd like to welcome my father, Apostle Ulysses Tuff. Welcome to the show, Dad.
Thanks, Forrest. Thank you. It's good being with you.
I want to talk about being a father to you. What is your earliest memories as a father?
Yeah. Well, my earliest memories as a father was I wanted to always be a good father. I wanted to always make sure that whatever my children needed from me in terms of attention, in terms of provisions, in terms of time with them, I wanted to be that person to make sure that they had that. So for me, my earliest times as a father, beginning with Maurice, then you, and then the twins, and then Debbie, was where I was always trying to make sure, wow, am I doing what I need to do? And I remember each time that, when Maurice was born, that was a different experience. When you came in, that was a different personality. As far as Debbie and Marcus and Reagan, different personalities. So with each of those personalities, I began to understand I had to adjust because you have to deal with every child so differently. So my beginning time was very, very crucial, because you're really learning and you really practice with your first children. I practice with you and Maurice, and I practice with you and Maurice to make sure, how do I do this thing? So I was very pleased, yes.
So at this time now, you have 5 kids ranging anywhere from 10 to newborn, and you decided, or not you decided,
That's right.
called to start a church in your house. So what was that like?
Yeah, right. Well, see, that was a different challenge because, you're trying to understand how this works in terms of, like with children, like with family, you're trying to start something that you've never done before.
That's right.
And doing that, of course, you got the children who you got to work with. They need to understand, of course, because we started the church in the house, we had to get y'all ready, had to get y'all to come downstairs, had to get y'all to understand that we were in church rather than in the house. And then, of course, with y'all being little, y'all still wasn't connecting. So we had to work on all that at the same time. And then trying to have a church service. Her mother was a praise worshiper. And while she was praising, I had to make sure that I was making sure that y'all were doing what you need to do. And when I started preaching, she had to make sure that y'all were doing what you need. So we was constantly shifting up, again, trial and error, just trying to learn how to make this happen and because it was really funny. It was really exciting because it was a new thing you never done before.
Right.
Like with the children new, when a church is new, like with children, it's new because you're starting with people you really don't know and you're trying to find out what's the best way, what you need to do, adjust the personality, so forth and so on.
So how did that go over with the homeowners association?
Well, it's interesting. I was at the time the president of the homeowners association, and we would have meetings, and of course we have meetings on things that's going on in the community, and I would be the one who personally would go from door to door to let people know about certain violations. But they never told me that they would me know me separately. So when I found out they would me know me, and I got this letter from them telling me that our church the cars was all over the road and all in their yards, and I looked out the window thinking, where are these cars they're talking about? Because there was no cars that we had. And of course, they wanted us to move, out of the community, move the church. But as a matter of fact, we didn't have a bunch of folks to move with, and we didn't have, that's what they were saying, cars all over the yard. So that was a very interesting experience. And of course, what was most interesting was the idea that I was the president on the board at the time they had the meeting. And they never told me about it. So that was, again, another interesting challenge, from one level challenge to another level challenge.
You know, it's interesting nowadays when you hear 5 kids, it seems like so many children. But I have to say, even as your son, you know, you and mom were able to put 5 kids through college, you know, even some with PhDs, and still maintain your business. Now, almost 40 years later, your church is still open.
Yeah.
So how is it now with this COVID-19? How have you had to adjust in terms of how you handle services? How has that been for you?
Yeah, well, one thing that has been true, you know, and this is so interesting to me. Everything become a new experience, and with new experiences, you begin to give much thought, much prayer to what you need to do, how you need to do, what you need to do. And so when it came to the COVID-19, I began to, first of all, when I got the information, began to understand that I need to make sure I'm giving the right direction, make sure I'm doing the right thing. And so we began to look at how can we still serve the people. So it was decided that, you know, I was going to go on Zoom. At the time, Zoom, I really didn't know about Zoom, but it got to be where I enjoyed it because it was so personable. And in our church, we try to be very personable.
Right.
And so with the Zoom, it has turned out very, very well. You know, we have actually seen increase. We've seen people who normally, in many cases, were not able to come to church. Now they can tune in on Zoom. We have some older folks who couldn't come. They're able to tune in. So I have really enjoyed this new setting. I have to be very careful that I don't get too carried away with this new setting, because the way it is now, you know, you're focusing on the time. You don't have you can't stay in forever and ever. You have to make sure everything is precise, everything is definite. You have to make sure that you're still connected to the people. So at the end of the broadcast, we let everybody talk to each other. And then after that, you know, we have this phase at the church where we tell our deacon, okay, deacon, time to turn off the lights. So when we say it's time to turn off the lights, we're telling everybody now we're getting ready to hang up. We're getting ready to close out everything.
Time to shut down the Zoom.
It's time for them to turn off their mics and turn off their cameras, whatever may be the case.
Yeah.
Time to shut it down. That's right. But it was fun. It's still a lot of fun.
You've talked about this many times in church, and it's just something that's always impressed me. At the age of 16, you lost your father. So at a pivotal point in your life, when you were learning to become a man, you know, you didn't have that male guidance to help you know how to raise young men or raise children from that standpoint. But through it all, you know, you had a strong mother, you know, grandmother, but you figured it out. And I've always wanted to ask you this: if you had one thing you could ask your father, you know, as a man, what would that question be? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, it was interesting. Oh, yes, I have. At the time when my father passed, I think I was about 16. And you know, when you're 16 as a young boy, you're going through changes, and you need answers, you need questions. So the question I cried out and told my mom, I said, I need my dad. I need to ask him some things. And so my mother said, no, you can talk to me. I said, no, I don't think I can talk to you about these things. So those are questions that as a young man, you need a father to be able to be there to talk and discuss these things with you. So I would, if I had to talk to my father, I would say, Father, let me ask you this question about this thing that's taking place in my life. Let me ask you a question about how do you handle this? How do you handle that? So it would have been around that area, because, you know, when you're 16, you start dating, you start getting into some other areas, and the world has gotten bigger for you. You can expand yourself a little. You know, you're now going from the 11th grade to the 12th grade. And so there are different challenges you need. So that would have been really what I need to get advice from my father on. But yet still, as you said, it worked out so well, because my mother being a praying woman, and because she was a praying woman, and because she worked very hard, the Lord allowed my Sunday school teacher, who was my coach at school, he allowed other teachers at the school went to the same church. So we were able to get information from them in school and at church, because we were a community church, but also a community school. So it turned out very well. Just the other day, matter of fact, I was thinking of something, and it was a question that I had asked my high school coach. And I was thinking, but if my father had been alive, I could have asked him that question. And that question was, again, I'm playing sports and I need to have an answer on something. normally I would just ask my father, but of course he was not present. Right. So I had to adjust to the situation again. As you can see, a lot of adjusting was taking place from one thing to another thing, but it turned out very well.
I wanted to celebrate fathers, and I couldn't do it without celebrating my own and just telling you, I really appreciate who you've been in my life. I appreciate who you've been to the community and what you've done just in making sure that you are an upright man. And it's just been a pleasure being your son and watching you. And I was honored to see you receive the Lifetime Achievement Award from the president in 2016.
Yeah.
This is my father, Apostle Ulysses Tuff. And I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for coming on the show and just spending some time to talk to me.
Thank you, son. I'm very honored. I enjoy this. Of course, you're being an adult now.
If you'd like to be a guest on Tuff Talk Show or know of an interesting person or organization, send us a request to tufftalkshow@email.com.
I believe in an idea.
I believe in community.
I believe in entrepreneurship.
Small businesses, I believe,
help weave people and communities together.
I believe in the American dream.
What's even better than dreams is making a dream come true.
SCORE is a nonprofit organization where we provide free business consulting services to people who want to start a business or already in business.
I believe one person can make a difference.
I am that person.
I am that person.
I am a SCORE mentor.
I am a SCORE volunteer.
What do you believe in?
Do you have a gift to share?
Small business owners need you.
To show them, to give them ideas, to encourage them.
I do what I do because watching other people succeed gives me great joy.
Our client success is our success.
It's like watching your children or grandchildren succeed.
Share your success.
Volunteer your expertise. You've got it. Share it.
Volunteer now at SCORE.org.
Volunteer your expertise
at SCORE.org.
Well, that concludes this episode of Tuff Talk Show. I hope you've enjoyed this segment on fatherhood. I'd like to thank our special guests from Fathers Incorporated, Kenneth Braswell and Lamont Jones, and also my special guest, my dad, Apostle Ulysses Tuff. I want to leave you with this final thought. Fathers matter. Until next time, we'll see you right here on Tuff Talk Show.